Imagine spending weeks rebuilding a million-pound hypercar, fixing it, watching it break again, and fixing it again, sourcing parts that Bugatti told you didn't exist. And as you prepare to attempt top speed in your car, Bugatti stopped you. That's exactly what happened to Mat Armstrong. Well, by the end of this video, you'll understand what this moment actually meant to Mat Armstrong. Before I continue, hit the subscribe button, because what this Bugatti Veyron put Mat Armstrong through before that runway is something nobody expected at all. Picture this: a Bugatti Veyron, 1.7 million pound hypercar, with a 1,000 horsepower and a 253 miles per hour top speed. The car that rewrote the rulebook on what a production vehicle could do. Mat Armstrong bought one. The Veyron arrived, fully wrapped in white. Mat stripped it back to find out what the paint underneath actually looked like. Some panels were fine, the rear bumper wasn't. Stone chips across the inside meant a full respray. He chose satin metallic silver wrap for the exterior panels. The dark blue Bugatti bodywork stayed. Chrome door handles went off for a satin lacquer finish to match the wrap. Throttle body covers went to the body shop. Color matched in dark blue. The carbon front splitter, destroyed by the previous owner, went to exclusive composites for a full restoration. Bob machined custom stainless steel hardware from scratch so it could bolt correctly back onto the bumper. Weeks of work just to get the car looking like it should. And then the real problems began. The moment the Veyron rolled out of the workshop for its very first test drive, it dropped straight into limp mode, less than a mile from the unit, a million-pound car, crawling down the road like it had already given up. Mat brought it back. Back in the workshop, and something else had stopped working. No indicators, every single one dead when he pressed the stalk. He went through every fuse and every fuse box, interior, engine bay, all of them. One blown 5-amp fuse, that was it. Replaced, indicators working. During the service, Mat had changed the front diff oil. Except the wrong fluid had arrived, both bottles written in German. Both said Hauex on the label. He hadn't spotted the difference until it was already inside the car. Drained it back out, sourced the correct fluid, syringed the right amount back in. Another hour of the rebuild gone. Mat had accidentally broken the wing mirror removing it in a previous video. He ordered a replacement off eBay. The seller broke his removing it too. 2 broken mirrors, neither usable. His solution was an 8-pound stick-on mirror glass cut to size. Not perfect. Functional enough to legally take the car on the road. He pressed it over the original glass and kept moving. The engine light came back. Diagnostics pointed straight to a misfire on cylinder 16. Mat pulled the coil pack and tried a Bentley W12 unit because Bugatti's own coil packs were nowhere to be found anywhere. It didn't work. The misfire moved to cylinder 14 where the Bentley pack had been fitted. He put the original Bugatti coil pack back in. Pushed it all the way down onto the spark plug this time. No misfire. It had never been fully seated in the first place. But if it had been genuinely faulty, Bugatti quoted 23.5 hours of labor just to change the coil packs. To attempt 253 miles per hour, Mat needed top speed mode. Top speed mode requires a separate speed key that lowers the car, flattens the rear wing, and removes the speed limiter. Bugatti's official replacement. Rumored to cost over $10,000. Mat took his existing keyblade to Dips at P1 Auto Keys. Dips scanned it, cut a duplicate, fitted it to a new housing. They tested whether the slot even had a transponder chip inside it. It didn't. Completely passive, just a mechanical switch. A duplicate blade worked perfectly. A $10,000 key, replicated for the cost of a blank. The original Veyron tires were Michelin specials, physically glued to the wheels, 40,000 pounds a set. 15 minutes of life at full top speed before needing replacement. Mat couldn't source them. Michelin confirmed directly they were unable to supply them. No UK wholesaler had stock either. He fitted Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires instead. Y-rated. Tested beyond 186 miles per hour. The same tire fitted to the Lamborghini Aventador SVJ. New Vossen alloys in the correct sizes. Brushed silver finish to match the wrap, not factory specification, but the best available option on the planet. New wheels meant new TPMS sensors. And here is where Bugatti's ecosystem showed its teeth again. On any normal car, you put it into relearn mode and it learns the new sensor IDs itself. Fit the wheels, drive the car, job done. On a Bugatti Veyron, things aren't that simple. Only a Bugatti main dealer can activate that relearn process. That meant Mat couldn't simply fit his new wheels and drive away. The car didn't recognize them. Without the original wheels, there was no easy way to copy the sensor IDs across. He was completely stuck. Think about that. Months of rebuilding could be stopped by tire pressure sensors. It sounds ridiculous, but that's what owning a Bugatti can be like. The smallest problems suddenly become massive ones, but then, by a stroke of luck, the new sensors registered on their own. Dashboard cleared, TPMS light gone, no dealer, no special programming. It just worked. For the first time in a long time, it felt like the Veyron was finally cooperating. And then the gearbox died. Mid-drive, no warning, no gears, nothing. One moment the car was driving. The next, it wasn't. The kind of failure that instantly makes your stomach sink. Because on a Bugatti Veyron, gearbox problems are not small problems. They're the kind that can cost more than most supercars. The Veyron's gearbox runs on hydraulic pressure held by accumulators. Mat had already replaced the pump during the build, but kept the original accumulators because they tested fine at the time. They weren't. One accumulator was barely holding 40 bar before the pressure dropped fast. The pump was running constantly trying to compensate, and every extra second it ran. The risk of another failure kept increasing. So once again, the Veyron came apart. Panels removed, rear quarter stripped off, hours of work, just to reach the faulty components. He sourced one replacement accumulator from Ferrangers, because the Volkswagen equivalent was on back order everywhere. He cleaned the pressure relief valve, resealed both units, fitted the new accumulator, and tested everything again. Pressure held longer. Not perfect, but enough. Enough to give the Veyron one more chance. So he put the car back together again. Mat booked Dunsfold runway. Drove the Veyron over 150 miles to get there. Not a single warning light, not a single fault code. Every mile that passed made it feel more real. After months of setbacks and repairs, it finally felt like he had beaten the car. He arrived, suited up, put on a helmet inside a car with heated leather seats, 0 fault codes on the dashboard, turned the duplicate speed key. Top speed mode activated. The wing dropped flat. The car lowered down. Everything was working exactly as Bugatti intended. He did one slow pass down the runway, just to feel the car, check the braking points, get comfortable with what was coming. Then he turned around, lined the Veyron up, set up for the real run. Everything had finally come together, and the Veyron shut down. Fuel pump control module, no signal, no communication. The car that had driven more than 150 miles without a single complaint. It died the exact moment Mat pointed it toward 253 miles per hour. This might have been the most emotional moment of Mat Armstrong's entire Bugatti repair journey. Months of work, months of fixes, months of 4 a.m. sessions, gone, right there at the finish line. This wasn't bad luck. This was the hidden cost of owning a Bugatti Veyron. Coil packs you can't source without going to the factory. TPMS sensors that require a main dealer just to register. Accumulators shared with Volkswagen Group vehicles that are permanently on back order. A fuel module that cuts out without warning at the worst possible moment. Mat Armstrong fixed everything this car threw at him, one by one, night after night, with his own hands and his own money. And Bugatti's own engineering still stopped him at the finish line. The question that Runway left behind isn't whether Mat will try again. He will. The question is, how many more nights at 4 a.m. does a million-pound car deserve before you stop calling it a dream and start calling it what it actually is? Don't forget to subscribe.